The story opens in a bustling metropolitan police department, a place where the pressure of the job is always palpable. The hum of radios, the clicking of keyboards, and the urgency of constant investigations create an atmosphere of intensity and competition. Detective Laura Spencer, a seasoned officer in her 30s, has always been committed to her work. She was respected by her peers for her competence and dedication to her role. But lately, things have changed. Laura feels withdrawn, emotionally distant from the people around her, and consumed by a growing sense of dissatisfaction. Sitting alone in her apartment late at night, she reflects on her strained relationship with her superior, Captain Thomas Reynolds. The apartment is dark, save for the soft glow of a table lamp, as she sips from a cup of cold coffee. Her mind drifts to the events that have led to her current state. The tension with Reynolds, once a respected and authoritative figure, now feels like an unbearable weight on her shoulders. She resents him, resentment that has been building for months. At first, Laura tried to ignore it, focusing on the job, but the constant mistreatment by Reynolds, his manipulation, and his abuse of power has taken its toll. As the scene closes, Laura's gaze hardens, revealing the depth of her inner conflict and the storm brewing inside her. As the story progresses, we are transported to the flashbacks that detail the growing conflict between Laura and Captain Reynolds. Reynolds, in his mid-40s, is the kind of man who commands authority effortlessly. He's known for his no-nonsense approach, demanding the best from his team, but over time, this turned into a pattern of bullying and favoritism. Laura is continuously singled out for the most demanding and grueling tasks. He criticizes her for even the smallest mistakes, publicly reprimanding her in front of the team, often humiliating her in front of her peers. The flashbacks show one such incident. During a team meeting, Reynolds shames Laura in front of the entire department for a case that didn't go as planned. His words are sharp, laced with criticism that goes beyond professional concern, striking at her character. He accuses her of incompetence, tarnishing her reputation and leaving her to deal with the aftermath. This public degradation erodes her sense of self-worth, but it is only the tip of the iceberg. The deeper betrayal comes to light as we learn that Reynolds had previously used Laura's trust to his advantage. He had been privy to her personal life, exploiting her vulnerabilities, causing her emotional harm in ways she could never fully explain. This pattern of manipulation, abuse of power, and public humiliation becomes the catalyst that leads Laura down a dark path. The weight of the mistreatment finally takes a devastating toll on Laura. She has always been able to compartmentalize her emotions, but the constant strain of her toxic work environment takes its toll on her mental health. A routine medical checkup shatters her world when Laura learns she is HIV-positive. The diagnosis leaves her stunned, and for the first time in a long time, she feels truly powerless. The news sends her into a spiral of despair as she grapples with the reality of living with the virus. It's not just the illness that weighs on her, but the fact that she suspects her exposure to HIV is linked to something that Reynolds did. In the flashbacks, it becomes clear that her infection was indirectly caused by his actions. There was an incident at work, a case that Reynolds mishandled, his negligence creating the situation that led to Laura's exposure. The betrayal cuts deeper than any wound, as Laura realizes that she has not only been manipulated by someone she trusted, but that her life will be forever altered by his reckless behavior. The emotional toll of this discovery is overwhelming. Laura feels anger, despair, and above all, betrayal. Her once rock-solid belief in the justice system is shaken. How can she continue to uphold the law when it has been so unjustly wielded against her? Laura begins to formulate a plan, one driven by a need for justice that has now been tainted by vengeance. She is determined to make Reynolds pay for what he has done to her, and the methodical nature of her plan reflects her deep emotional turmoil. It's not just a spontaneous act of rage, it's calculated, thought through, and executed with precision. Laura starts by getting closer to Reynolds, using her charm and intelligence to manipulate the situation. She knows his weaknesses and uses them to her advantage. She offers to share drinks with him after work, spends time around him under the pretense of being a trusted colleague, and deliberately touches his personal belongings when the opportunity arises. All of this is done with a single purpose in mind: to plant the seeds of her infection. Laura carefully orchestrates every step, ensuring that Reynolds unknowingly becomes part of her plan. There are moments when she struggles with her conscience. She wonders whether what she is doing is justified, but her anger and resentment drown out any hesitation. She convinces herself that this is the only way to make him understand the suffering she has endured. The consequences of Laura's actions come to light when Captain Reynolds begins to show symptoms of an illness. At first, he dismisses the signs, attributing them to stress or exhaustion. But as his condition worsens, he finally seeks medical attention. The tests come back with a shocking result. Reynolds is diagnosed with HIV. The news hits him like a punch to the gut. As he processes the devastating truth, his mind races back to the moments when Laura's behavior had seemed off. He remembers the odd interactions, the way she had become unusually close, the way she had touched his things. The pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place, and a sense of paranoia grips him. He can't shake the feeling that something deliberate has happened. Unable to ignore the suspicions any longer, Reynolds confronts Laura. In a heated exchange, she admits what she has done. She openly confesses that she infected him on purpose, revealing the pain, anger, and betrayal that fueled her actions. This confrontation becomes the emotional climax of the story, a raw and powerful moment of truth. As the truth is revealed, the fallout from Laura's actions is swift and severe. She is arrested, and the story becomes the subject of a media frenzy. Public opinion is divided. Some sympathize with Laura's pain, while others condemn her for taking justice into her own hands. The legal process begins, and Laura faces a trial where her fate will be decided. Meanwhile, Reynolds is forced to confront the consequences of his own actions. His condition worsens, and he becomes physically and emotionally broken. He reflects on the role he played in the events that led to this tragedy, haunted by his own mistakes. In prison, Laura finds herself grappling with the weight of her actions. There is no easy way to undo what she has done, but she begins to reflect on whether her revenge was worth the cost. While she expresses regret for the pain she caused, there is also a grim sense of justice. She believes that Reynolds got what he deserved, but as the story ends, she is left to ponder the true price of her actions. The story ends with a powerful commentary on the destructive nature of unchecked power, the consequences of betrayal, and the emotional toll that unresolved resentment can take. While Laura's actions were extreme, they highlight the dangers of abuse of authority and the devastating impact it can have on those who suffer under it. The story raises questions about justice, revenge, and accountability, urging the audience to consider the moral implications of taking matters into one's own hands. The social commentary emphasizes the need for systemic change in environments where abuse of power goes unchecked and the personal cost of emotional trauma is often ignored. It challenges viewers to think critically about the ways in which people cope with pain and betrayal, and the consequences that can arise when those feelings are not addressed in healthier ways.